Here's a special bonus video that's going to show you how to hack the car hacking software. In fact, what I want to show you how to do, this was a favorite lesson from our National Cyber Warrior Academy these past 2 years. And I want to say a special shout out to Franklin Way. Franklin Way was actually the student who came up with this idea back in NCWA 2016. And you can see I have turned on my control area network. I've got my IC simulator and my controls up. And I'm not limited by a top speed of 100 miles per hour. I'm going to be able to peg this thing out up at 280 miles per hour. The dial has numbers up to 260, but we can even, if you really want to do it, you can even make this wrap around several times. So it can go to 300 and then wrap back around for 600, 900, all the way around. So I just want to show you this. It's a really useful, quick application of editing open source software and hacking the car hacking software. It's some pretty cool stuff. There are a couple of things that you're going to be able to do at the command line. We're going to use that make command finally that we mentioned early on, but we're going to be able to recompile this open source software with a few edits that we'll make. And we'll see a couple of troubleshooting tips along the way. Plus, this is a really common thing when you download some software. It'll be close, especially great open source software like the team at Open Garages have put together here. It does almost everything exactly like you'd want, but you know, it'd be nice to be able to type out this little minivan that we're driving at 300 miles per hour instead of just hitting 90 miles per hour. So if you want to be able to modify things, let's say you wanted to make it accelerate faster, because this accelerates and decelerates kind of slowly, maybe realistically, which is probably the goal, but we want to be able to hit that max speed faster, so we'll have a really fast minivan by the time we finish this. We just need to be able to edit those open source files that we saw earlier. Well, we can use our Nano editor, or we can just use LeafPad, which is right here on one of the applications right on the desktop for Kali Linux. We can go to File, Open, and we got that IC simulator folder under our root, so root IC sim, and we should be able to find controls.c. Notice you've also got your ICSim.c and a libc file. In fact, I think this one may cause an error on this current distribution of Linux, so we're going to fix that from the command line. But let's go to controls.c and edit this file. So we are editing controls.c, and we're going to scroll down. You can see a lot of constants in here. You may be able to read some of this code. If you've programmed in C before, this is going to be easy for you. If you've never programmed in C, especially on a Linux or Unix computer, this is going to be a really useful, quick example. We're just going to change a couple of things. You see my max speed of 90. I can use my keyboard to just type in, let's say 300 here. And my acceleration rate, instead of 8 seconds, I want to go 0 to 300 in 6 seconds. So you could make this faster. You could make it zip up and zip down. You're hacking, so you're doing something safe on a virtual car. So it's all right to change this even more. But you can see all of the source code for this controller. We're not going to change anything else except this one line, max speed. And then optionally, if you want to change the acceleration rate as well, I've just changed max speed to 300 and acceleration rate to 6. All I have to do now is save this and come to a new terminal window. I'll go ahead and close out of my other running programs. And so I'll start with a completely clean terminal window. New window. I'll increase the size here, Control Shift and plus, so that you can see this more easily. And all I need to do is, now that I've edited, so if I go to CD and ICSim, CD, I, capital I, tab, LS, if I more controls.c, and I just hit the space bar a couple of times, I can see my max speed is 300. I've correctly saved that. So I can hit a Control C, clear. Now normally what I would need to do here is just hit the make command, because this already has a make file. And if everything were perfect on this distribution of Linux and on the GitHub files, I should just be able to run make from inside the ICSim folder. If I list that one more time, in fact, let me do that. LS, and I can see that I have a folder or a file called makefile. That makefile, if I more it, I can see that this just has some compiling information. GCC is the new or the free C compiler, and it has some flags. It's compiling the ICSIM file, the controls file, and the lib.o file, a library file that it uses, and then it's cleaning up after itself. If I clear, we should be able to issue a make command here. So make should run that make file. But we've got some sort of error here. You can see GCC, everything looks okay there, but then we've got an error down here, this lib.o file. This is just because this lib.o file that we are using, this one of the library files that was compiled in the original version of the ICSIM, does need to be recompiled, and we need to recompile it with these flags. So let me show you the command to recompile this lib.o if you got this error. If you got make to work without a problem, that means that they've updated the files at GitHub for Zombie Craig's ICSIM file. But there's a good chance on a good clean Kali install like we just did, you're going to have to do a recompile of the lib.c to get this lib.o file. So we'll show you a little bit of extra hacking -fpic. So we're going to say, just to show you really fast what we mean here, libc is the original library file that was being compiled by this makefile, or that was compiled originally. Lib.o was what it was compiled to. We're going to recompile this output file, or this object file, lib.o. So let me make this a little bit bigger so that you'll be able to see it better. And we're going to say GCC, this is the new compiler, GCC-G-O, because we want to do the output file, and we'll do a -c for lib.c. This will recompile that lib.c to a new lib.o file. If I do ls-l, you'll see that my lib.o is now updated as of 12:35. These other files I updated a little earlier. So now if I run make with my edited controls.c, it had a couple of warnings in there, but it looks good. I can run it and make one more time. Everything looks like it's up to date. Just in case you have rebooted your machine since the last lesson, or if you ever want to come back and rerun the vcan simulators, all we have to do is do a mod probe, vcan, and then we do a dmessage to make sure that the vcan interface driver is in there. We're going to do an IP link add dev vcan 0, or you can use a different number if you want to. Type vcan, and then an IP link set up vcan 0. You need to run those 4 commands anytime you restart Linux, because that mod probe will load the kernel module for vcan, and then we set up our vcan 0 interface of type vcan, and then we link it up. Now we should be able to run the /ICSIM on vcan 0. We're in the ICSIM folder, so we can run /ICSIM vcan 0. And that gives our dashboard simulator. Let's run our controller with a new window. I always need to cd into ICSIM to find my /controls, and I need to run them on vcan 0. So if we've done this correctly, we should accelerate a little more quickly, and we should go well past 100 all the way up to 300 miles per hour. Very nice. If you made yours 1,000, you'll see it loop around 3 times and come back up a little bit. If you did it for a little less or a little more, you can run it, and you can change that acceleration. Notice it took me around 6 seconds to accelerate. I could make that 2 seconds and make this really fast. All we have to do is remake. In fact, I'll demo that really fast. File, open, and we can reopen controls.c. I'm going to change that max speed. I'll make it 600 and an acceleration rate of 2 seconds. Oop, I didn't have my numlock turned on there. So 6 and 2. We can save, Control S or File Save. Good. And then all we need to do is start a new terminal window, and we just do a cd into ICSIM Do another make. It remade the file. Then we can minimize this window. We just need to close the controller and run it again. And now our new controller, wow, accelerates past 300 to 600. It's having to do some modular arithmetic because there's some distance between these two. But look at that. We wrapped all the way around and we accelerated in just 2 seconds from 0 to almost 600 miles per hour. Had to wrap all the way around to see that happen. Very nice. We can still turn on our blinkers, everything else that we were able to do. So we just hacked the car hacking software. You've learned some really valuable skills with GCC, so we can recompile open source C files. You can edit C files as easily as using a text editor. File open controls.c, and I can make this anything I want. I can change other things in here. Once you get good at hacking and changing just a few things, you can come down and actually start writing your own C code, create your own new parts to this really cool IC simulator and control panel. So if you want to do a simulator for turning on the air conditioning, you can figure out a way to do that if you want to spend some time in there. So some really great tools at your disposal and some really useful features to be able to do. We will see you in the next section.